I want to start off by just getting your general reaction to the election results from this week. Obviously, the big race was in Virginia, where the Republican Glenn Youngkin beat the Democrat Terry McAuliffe, despite the fact that Biden carried the state by over 10 points. But it was also a tough night for Democrats in a lot of other places. What do you think happened there?
Definitely a disconnect from the national level into the states, also on the local level. I mean, Democrats have had ample opportunity over these last, over 8 months or so to show the people that they really are working very hard to change their material conditions. And part of that has to do with the policies that they're pushing and making those policies real and to have a real impact in the lives of people. Seeing the debate go back and forth about whether or not people are worthy of having, for example, paid leave, or how many years you're going to extend the child tax credits, 2-year college, all of those things I'm sure depressed the voters and also showed the voters very clearly that although the Democrats are in control, air quotes, not much is happening that they can feel.
Yeah. No, it's the debate kind of in the post-election aftermath has been kind of mind-numbing because there's this impulse obviously from the Democratic Party to blame the left for those results, although no one could confuse Terry McAuliffe for Che Guevara or something like that. The question then to them is like, well, you guys have been in there for a minute now. What do we got to show for it? Like, what do we got to show for it? And it just seems like they don't have anything to run on.
No, they don't. And not saying that that is the only thing, but when you are running a moderate, somebody, I forget who put this out in social media, but I totally agree. Maybe it was John from TYT, but something like, you got a moderate candidate in Virginia, for example, running for governor. You got a moderate president, and you got moderates holding up the agenda that, although it's not as big as I would like to see it, could certainly help a lot of people. So you got all of that swirling. And at the same time, you have in McAuliffe a candidate that couldn't really run to he was kind of similar to the Republican in many ways. I mean, the types of money that he has taken, over the years, very similar. You have the Republican candidate who actually now is governor elect running on things like increasing the wages of teachers. Hello,
Yeah.
somebody. He was running a very populist campaign. And meanwhile, McAuliffe is running against Donald J. Trump. There was
Yeah.
such a disconnect. The Republican, he ran a very localized campaign, Nando, and I don't know if you agree with that or not. And you had McAuliffe primarily running a national race.
Yeah. No, that it running against Trump just seems like I think just people have moved on. But I want to ask about India Walton's loss in Buffalo. I mean, obviously a brutal race, against the incumbent Byron Brown. Despite the fact that she beat him in the primary, the Democratic Party really circled the wagons to stop India Walton, even allying with Republicans in New York to help Byron Brown get enough signatures for a write-in campaign that ultimately prevailed. What was your reaction to that?
It was very painful to see that. I was on the ground with India Walton. She also, Nando, came into Ohio while I was running for Congress. Her and her team supported her both with time, talent, and treasure. And then her and her team, by and large, certainly doing a fantastic job. The the pain point there, and I hope that the entire progressive movement understands this, is that the corporatist wing of the Democratic Party will do anything, and I mean anything. And what happened to India Walton proves that out. They will do anything, try to change the rules, manipulate the rules, whatever it takes to try to defeat a progressive candidate. And what was her sin? Coming from a lived experience and a working class background, a mother, a nurse, somebody who has a lived experience of pain, and standing up, saying very clearly to the citizens of Buffalo that I will center the poor, the working poor, and the barely middle class. And as you noted, she actually won the primary. She was the Democratic nominee, and you still couldn't get high level Democrats to back her. You had the chair of the party of New York compare her candidacy to David flippin' Duke. That is how far gone the Democratic Party is gone. They just gone. And so progressives have to understand that even though our policies that we're running on will be life changing, when it comes to doing this combat with the corporatist Dems, we got to fight them and fight them hard because they come at us with all they got. I often say, and this is, I'm saying this in a symbolic way, not, I don't mean it physically, but I do believe that they would go after their own mama to stop progressives from winning. Really, I do. I mean, this is how bad it's gotten. And you
Yeah.
saw some of the same traits in my race, too. The difference, India was the nominee. She made it through the primary. Not just made it, she won the primary. But Republicans got together with corporatist Dems to defeat her. Nevertheless, as you just laid out with a write-in, which is rare. And in my case, my number one opponent got help from Republicans as well. The owner of the Patriots, donated money, all kinds. Republicans even crossed over in a Democratic primary in my special election to support my number one candidate. So, I mean, my number one opposition. So again, corporatist Dems will do anything, even go after their own mama to defeat progressives.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that begs the question, right, about what is the left or the progressive wing or whatever's relationship to the Democratic Party, what it should be. We've seen how they, like you said, they go after their own mama. We saw how furiously they rallied to stop Bernie Sanders in 2020. I mean, I don't have to tell you.
And 2016.
And 2016. And you see like the kid gloves with which they treat, people like Manchin and Sinema when they're holding up their own agenda. And
they get invited to the White House. They act out and they get invited to the White House. Progressives just demand humanity take place in the United States of America and form a policy, and all of a sudden we're troublemakers.
Right. So again, it begs the question of like, what is our relationship to the Democratic Party? What it should be? I mean, it does feel like we're in a double bind. Obviously, like we can't become Republicans. I mean, that's out of the question. The third party option seems very difficult in the history of American politics. It's just requires kind of momentous changes in the social fabric to for a party to emerge, and it's hard to imagine like a party like the Democrats just completely collapsing. So that's what do we do? I don't know the answer, but what do we do?
I'm not sure we have a relationship, and we got to come to grips with that. In other words, the progressives love the Democratic Party, but the Democratic Party don't love us. And what do you do when the other partner doesn't love you? That becomes the question for our movement. And when I say love the Democratic Party, I mean that progressives fully understand many are committed, not all, because there's certainly some progressives who saying, you know what, they don't love us and let's go. Why are we going to live be in a home that doesn't love us? The home ain't happy. And then there are others who say, this is our party too. There's a song, I forget what group, but the words, I will not sing it. That is not my skill set, but it's my party and I can cry if I want to. I don't know the name of the group, yeah. But that song is, very familiar in popular culture. I think that some progressives feel the same way, and is the reason why so many stay and fight within the Democratic Party. It's my party. I can cry if I want to, fight if I want to, and to not allow the corporatist wing, who would want nothing more than to push out all of the progressives. So it is a double-edged sword. It is hard to know, not necessarily what to do, but to really come to grips with, we have to fight a multi-pronged battle. That's really what this is. We have to fight the corporatist Democrats within the Democratic Party, and we have to fight the Republicans. We got to fight neoliberalism, and we got to fight neo-fascism. And the progressive movement itself, we got to come to better grips with that, and then to create strategies by which we fight both of those forces. If I might, take some words from one of my dear friends, Michael Render, aka Killer Mike, we got to plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize. And that's what it's going to take. And it's going to be painful. And so we just got to come to grips with that. They don't love us. Matter of fact, it ain't even that they don't love us. They hate us.
They hate us.
They hate us.
Yeah. They really hate us. I mean, it's the frustrating thing for us is that, like, we know that we have the issues on our side, right? That we know that the issues are on our side. I mean, opinion polling time and time again shows that a majority of Americans, not just Democrats but Republicans, agree with the policies and the political transformation necessary to improve the lives of working people. Yet we still fight these, have these like massive uphill battles against a very powerful, very entrenched establishment. What kind of institutional power do we need to build? What kind of institutional support do we need to build in order to, not allow things like the India Walton thing to happen, where we can really flex a muscle and be like, no, we won. Shut up. Yeah.
I mean, publications like Jacobin, you got Common Dreams, you have Daily Poster. I mean, so many networks like TYT and others of the progressives that have their own podcasts and all of that kind of thing. I would love to see progressive organizations and progressive institutions come together and let's do what Killer Mike recommended: plot, plan, strategize, organize, and then mobilize within the movement itself. And so what I mean by that, there'll be many progressive candidates running, and we should encourage as many progressives to run as we can. And then there'll be some races, Nando, that we look at and we say, you know what? As a concerted effort, we should get involved in that race. And India Walton's race is or was one of those races where I believe that now there were progressive organizations helping her, like the Working Families Party, and others. But when I say a concerted effort, I mean the progressive organizations getting around the table, looking at races across this country and saying, okay, DFA, you're gonna have your set of candidates. DSA, you might have yours. Netroots, you might have yours. PDA, you might have yours. That's fine. But these 5 races right here, we coming in hot, meaning we are gonna marshal all of our resources to help these 5 candidates come hell or high water. So that's one. The other is to be in constant communication with the movement, because the movement is becoming discouraged. And that is really what the corporatist Dems want. They want progressives to lose hope, to throw up their hands and give up, on fighting for Medicare for all, to give up on fighting for college for all, to give up on saying that we must have a billionaire tax in this country so that we can fund the things that we want to have in this nation, a social contract with one another, to house the people who don't have housing, all of the things that lift up humanity and allow people to live out their greatest greatness. They would love nothing more than for us to give up. And that's why they attack candidates like myself or like Senator Sanders or like India Walton and so many others. Well, we must reconcile ourselves to do that. We will not give up. And we got to put our sweat equity along with our policies and be more strategic in our efforts to win these races. Because as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, we need love and power. Love and power go together. We already got the love in terms of the policies that we push. And Nando, as you highlighted very clearly, most of the American people are with us. We're not on the fringes. The other side, they're on the fringes. They're out of touch. We must win races so that people like an India Walton is an executive, is a mayor, and then we'll have the power to act on the policies that we are pushing.
Yeah, and in my bleakest moments, and politics these days has felt a little bleak. The one encouraging kind of green offshoot I've been seeing is the kind of very slight but significant and impossible to ignore uptick in labor militancy in recent months. And the Jacobin party line is that there is no left, there is no progress, there is no progressive change without labor power. And we're seeing an uptick in labor militancy, but how do we on the left, the political institutions on the left, the media institutions on the left, capitalize on that, link up with that activity? Because it does feel like there is a slight disconnect, or at least it's not coming from the same place, although it's coming from the same kind of issues and things like that, but that the linkages could be stronger, and the politics could could translate from that labor militancy. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's where we have to make a concerted effort, be very deliberative about this, is to get together and plot our plan. I mean, that's it. It is just as simple as that. Now, getting it done is not simple, but how we get to it is simple. We have got to come together as organizations and institutions and declare. Nando, we're gonna have a little.
All good.
We
All
got a
good.
little visitor.
We're gonna get a viral moment out of this.
Yeah, we're gonna get a viral moment going.
Yeah. That's
Say
what's
hello,
Oh, hey.
Nando.
What up?
Say hello, Nando.
What's your name?
Say hello. Mama. You say hello. Say hello, Nando.
What up?
You seen it here, Jacobin.
Yeah.
There
you go.
This is the star of the show right here.
Hell
this is
yeah.
the real boss.
How do we reconnect the left political movement that we're seeing to the labor movement after decades of that being uncoupled?
Yeah, I mean, we have to deliberately say that we are going to come together as organizations and institutions and plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize, as Michael has laid out there for us. And there's nothing really new under the sun. We have generations before us who have done the same thing. I think about Asa Phil Randolph. Comes to mind, the leader of the Brotherhood of the Sleeping Car Porters, one of the greatest union leaders of the 20th century, and how he did organize. They did plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize on behalf of Black men who were working on the trains. As history reminds us, Asa Phil Randolph went to President FDR and said, you know what, I'm coming. I'm going to march on Washington. See, 1960s was not the first time that there was a thought to march on Washington. We seem sometimes to forget our history. And it was that threat of doing that made FDR, desegregate the military. So we have that same power. We're just doing it in the 21st century. So we should definitely take some lessons from history and couple those lessons from history with some of the enormous tools we have at our disposal right now. What we have that our foreparents did not have. We have social media. We have Jacobin. We have all kinds of tools at our disposal to be able to get our message out worldwide. And we don't have to only physically be in those places and spaces. We can be there in the social media atmosphere coupled with being there physically. So we got to use those tools and we got to come together. The civil rights movement and the labor movement work so well together. We need to do that again. We need to have a repeat performance of that in the 21st century.
If you enjoyed this video from Jacobin Weekends, please hit like and subscribe. That way, you'll enjoy all of our backlog, as well as all of our future content, including interviews, live streams, and clips. Thank you.